Hello, how are you today? This is White Dove, and today we're going to talk about a little bit of troubleshooting inside of ReceiptBank and QuickBooks Online. You will find that not all your receipts sometimes maybe show up as a match, and what do we do when that happens? And also, this is going to be in two places inside the private membership site, because it is one thing to watch out for on the accounts payable side of it, and it's another thing to watch out for on the troubleshooting side of it too. It's not something you have to monitor regularly, but it is something you're going to have to keep an eye on. So what happens when you go to your bank feed, you add all your matches that came in from ReceiptBank, you did everything you're supposed to do, you did ReceiptBank, you pushed them through, and then all of a sudden not all of them came through necessarily to your bank feeds. There are reasons that happens, but it does happen. I need you guys to understand that this is definitely something where you need to keep an eye on this. What you're going to want to check first is the your accounts payable. So under the Quick Connect button, which is a circle with a cross on it, you're going to hit Pay Bills. And inside of Pay Bills, this is a way to check on it. This is so that you can actually see that, oh, there are items, now this account's been reconciled, the bank feeds are up to date, but there are items that are sitting out there for these amounts that we need to figure out what happened to them, because if we do not, this skews your balance sheet. It doesn't skew your profit and loss. It goes over sitting as an accounts payable on your balance sheet, where your snapshot, your business snapshot on that report thinks that you owe this money somewhere. So let's back that up just a tiny bit. When you send your receipt to ReceiptBank, the way that ReceiptBank integrates to QuickBooks Online is that it sends it in as an accounts payable. That's where it kind of hosts that until it matches with the bank feed. Now, what happens if it sends it over and something doesn't match? The amount doesn't match, or the date doesn't match, or the vendor doesn't match. You know, there's certain criteria that will actually stop the transaction from matching on the bank feed, and that's what we want to troubleshoot, and that's what we want to fix. So I suggest that even though you have your bank feed done and your reconciliations done, you may not have everything completed because you have these items sitting out here on the pay bills section or your accounts payable section. So what I usually do is that, and here is why we always put a payee name to all of our bank feed transactions. Always put a payee name, because now if there is that, it's coming in through ReceiptBank, so then I can actually go through and tie it in on the vendor side of it instead of just trying to figure out what to do with it after the fact. So let's see if it works out right on this one, and we'll go from there. What happens is these will sit here, and we need to fine tune what they actually are. My first order of business would be to go into the actual bill and look at the receipt. So the receipt does say $169.97, and it says 1/5 of 18. So then we get back over here, X out of it, and let's go into the vendor. Let's see if this has been done correctly. Oh, I'm sorry. Vendors. All right. So we have a perfect opportunity match here. So as you see down here, you have the Texas Roadhouse as a bill, and you have the Texas Roadhouse as an expense. And those are the same exact transaction. What we need to do is we need to tie those together. This happens very commonly, okay? And there's multiple ways. This came in, maybe the receipt came in after the fact, and you already accepted the bank feed, and so you can't actually have it go anywhere if the bank feed is not sitting in your bank feeds. If you already accepted that to the register, then it's not going to have anywhere to put this bill, so it goes into just sitting inside of accounts payable. So what I suggest you do, very simple fix, is you click on the expense part of it, and when you do that, it'll actually say, hey, guess what? We show a bill in here on your accounts payable that's the same amount, relatively close to the same date, but has the same vendor name. See why we do those items? See why we actually give them vendor names? And all transactions should have a payee, because we can tie it in this way. Now, if I didn't have a vendor name for this transaction for the Texas Roadhouse on the expense side, it would not know that it should maybe have the suggestion of being tied to that bill. So then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say, oh, yes, that's the case. And then I'm going to put the amount in, verify the amount. And then I'm going to say save and close. It will say this big red, button or red notice that says, but this is fine. Yes, it's been reconciled. We know that, but we know what we're doing with this transaction. So we're going to go ahead and accept that. Now when we go down here, it shows that it came through as a bank feed and it tied to the transaction. Everything should be good. Let's go over to our accounts payable. And it has now removed it out of the accounts payable. So it snagged it out of there and put it in. If you have any questions on this, please bring this to the virtual office hours. This is a very common issue. This is a very common item that happens. We get, happy that we're able to run our bank feeds and we start feeling confident in the program and knowing what we're doing, and we might accidentally overlook this. I do not want to let this build for you. So when you do your reconciliation, a good rule of thumb is to just double check your pay bills inside of your QuickBooks Online to see if any of these are hanging out there. Sometimes they'll sit because there's a couple day transaction lag between the date that you had the receipt that you purchased the item or spent the money and the date that it actually cycles your bank. That is okay. Anything within the last 5 days or so, that's going to be fine. But if you have any prior items, then that's the ones we want to take care of. So jump in here, check your pay bills. If for some reason that you have any questions on it, shoot me a Slack message or plan to jump in the next virtual office hours. I will talk to you guys soon.